Hey Yarnies. Okay, we're really recording this time. I thought I was recording for about 20 minutes and then realized I wasn't, so we're trying again. So, I know it's been almost a month since I have posted an episode. It's been really busy, middle to end of March and 1st of April to middle of April, so that's part of why we're only just now getting to episode 6, but we're here. I hope you guys can like, subscribe, comment, follow along, and it is Sunday, April 12th, and I have my notes here to the side, so let's get started. So, I just knocked something off my table. I don't know if I can reach it or not. Pardon me. Okay. All done. Okay, so I started a new project, and it is the Eyelet Burst Shawl from Stephen West. It is a secret recipient for this, but I'm sure this person can figure it out. If you do figure it out, I hope you tell me if you like it or not, because I think you will. Anyways, so I showed, I think on here in the last episode, a woolly mammoth skein. If I did not, I know I've showed it on TikTok under the same name, Sassy Fiber Arts. It is 1,930 yards of fingering weight yarn, and it is from Wild Dye Studio. She is in Maine. Her name is Brenda. She does a fabulous job. It's very affordable. This is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. It's 1,930 yards and 453 grams, all on one skein. So the color that I chose was moss and mulberry for this Eyelet Burst shawl. So I'm going to kind of get in the middle here and show it to you all. And I'm loving the way it's making triangles and wedges. There's single eyelets here, and then on either side there's also this double row of eyelets. I started this on March 18th, 2026, and I've already got this much on it. I'm using a Chiaogoo size 6 4.0 millimeter needle, and I also just had to add to my cord with my interchangeable set so that this could fit on there easily to show you guys. But I usually leave it bunched up as I work on it, so I'll be able to stay with this size cord for a little bit. But I might need a bigger cord. I don't know. We'll see. I did go up a needle size, so the pattern calls for a size 5, but because I have 1,900 yards, I was like, I'm going to go up a size. It'll give it a little bit more drape and squish detail, and I really like the way this is feeling as I work on it, and I think the recipient will as well. I hope so. So when I started this project, you know how if you're a crafter, crafting shows you if you can count or not. And there are days that I can count, no problem. And there are days that I can't. So when I started this, it just starts with this little piece right here. And then you start immediately into these yarn overs, these eyelet bursts, really. And it was so confusing to me because I wasn't into the rhythm of the pattern or the order of the stitches. So I got out some stitch markers and I threw them on there, and that helped. But then I got confused again. And so then, because I was looking at the pattern page, and then I was looking here, and then I was flipping the pattern page because it was printed on both sides, and I was like, okay, do I even have the right number of stitches? Because this is going to grow by 6 stitches every other row. So I was like, okay, we're going to color code these stitch markers. So I used gold and blue. And then I got to a point where I was like, if I make a mistake with all these yarn overs, I'm not the best at fixing missed yarn overs or getting them to like cross. I don't know if you guys can see that, how they're twisted here and here. To me, that's hard to fix. So I was like, okay, I need lifelines. So then I was like, what am I going to use for lifelines? I prefer to use barber cords, but they're not thin enough for fingering weight yarn. They actually stretch the yarn out just a little bit. And so to me, when there's a lifeline that you later take out, it's like the yarn remembers that. And that one little row to me is a little more puffy. So So I didn't want to do that. So I came up with a creative solution, and I'm laughing at myself, but that's okay. It is unflavored dental floss. I mean, you could do flavored if you want your project to smell like mint or cinnamon. I don't. I'm pretty sure my recipient doesn't either. So I did unflavored, and I put it in this little tightening. It's called a tightening hole. And I just thread the dental floss through there, and I work my next row, and then voila, you have what's called a lifeline. So if I make a mistake, then I could just unravel, and then the lifeline catches the stitches. Let's see here. It goes this way. It's really hard to see because it's dental floss, but it's right there. You can see it. It's kind of sitting there. So that would catch the yarn, the stitches, and then I would just rethread through that and continue on. But remember how I said I put stitch markers in? Yeah, I didn't pay attention to what kind of stitch markers I put in. And I was using complete full circle stitch markers. So those are on there until I take this lifeline out, which I'm going to do after this video. I left it on there to be able to show you guys and kind of get a giggle. So I'm not going to have the recipient receive 4 stitch markers, 2 cat shaped and 2 blue ones. Although they will get a giggle out of the story when I tell them. Ooh, I just love how those eyelet bursts look right there. Anyways, so that's what I used for my lifelines and the stuck stitch markers, which will be freed soon. So then as I continued with the piece and I knew I needed to write out my row that I had to pay attention to with the 6 stitches being added, I was like, am I even doing the right number of stitches? So I made a spreadsheet that went up by 6 each time. And then I color coded my row as I wrote it out on this piece of paper. So now I just have this one piece of paper. I don't even really look at that row that I wrote anymore because I've got the rhythm of that pattern or that row in my hands and in my brain now. So I'm just pretty much counting stitches on the second row to make sure that I'm close. So far this has 319 stitches on it. So you'll notice, so the butterfly stitch marker, well, he's being stubborn. There we go, he's blue, is for the right side of the project. So it's the right side row that I have to add those 6 stitches in, and then on the wrong side row, even though it looks the same, I am counting the stitches to make sure I have the correct number and checking it off on the spreadsheet. So I actually wound up color coordinating my stitch markers. So I've got orange and gold and blue, so it still matches the gold and the blue on that are stuck for now. And then the pink stitch marker, as I'm counting across the row, I slip it every 50 stitches. So that's my method for figuring this out. Now you're probably like, what are these stitch markers for? Well, I was on spring break and I wanted to know how many rows I got done over spring break. So the bottom stitch marker is where I was on Monday morning. I didn't count the first weekend. And then Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, and I still need to add for tonight. I've already knit 2 rows on this morning. So I want to try to get 2 more done. I figured out that if I do 2 rows a day, I will hit my deadline that I have. But I'm way ahead of my deadline, and I would rather have it finished prior to my deadline so that I know that it's done. Now, the other thing is these 3 stitch markers that are kind of in a row together. So the dragonfly is where we have about 100 stitches on one row. And then the book is 200 stitches. Hi, Mac. And then the gray cat is 300 stitches. So I've got some cute stitch markers picked out to notate every 100 stitches on a row. And according to the spreadsheet, my last repeat row should have 685 stitches on it. So that's close to 700 stitches. So it'll be interesting to see what this looks like then. I just envision this person curling up in this shawl as they read, as they enjoy their next phase of life. And I really hope that they enjoy this gift. So this is going to be my main focus until I get it done. I'm really gonna really try to get this done well before my deadline. So again, this is the Eyelet Burst Shawl by Stephen West, and I am using Moss and Mulberry Woolly Mammoth Skein from Wild Dye Studio. Okay, next, I actually cross-stitched. I actually worked on Halloween Sampler, and that's upside down. I finished Ray. So now it says X-ray. So I got that done, and then I moved the hoop so that it's ready for the next word, which is yells. So I have yells, I have zombie, I have a cauldron, I have a cat, and then on the, through here by the ray, there's like a witch's stocking and a boot. So that's what's left on Halloween Sampler. I started this October 31st, 2020, so a little more than 5 years ago. Not quite 6 because we haven't had Halloween for 2026. I would love to get this done and framed and on my mantle for this Halloween. That is my ultimate goal for this piece. I just think it's so cute, especially with all the little motifs in there. And I have a second one too. They made a second one, so I'm not going to start it anytime soon, but I do want to eventually get them both done and on my mantle. Looks so good. Okay, so I am using Gentle Art Sampler Threads from Simply Shaker. And then I already talked about what I still have left to do. So I will be slowly continuing to add to the Halloween Sampler. As time goes on, it's nice to just kind of have a different kind of a project to work on, especially when my hands or my forearms are kind of aching from knitting. Doesn't happen too often, but I do, where I'm so focused on such a big shawl with so many stitches, I really do have to think about overuse of the same muscles. Okay, next I have one finish from the last time we chatted, and it is March's Berroco Cable Craze Blanket in Sapphire. The yarn is called Vintage with the name of Sapphire. And when I first did this pattern, I wasn't sure about this straight piece through here, but now that I've seen the whole thing together, I really do kind of like how the cables are more spread out and this more simple look to what's between the cabling. I think that the blanket's going to come together really well. I need to start thinking about what colors I want to do next. I started this on March 16th. 2026, and I finished it on April 2nd, and then I blocked it on April 3rd. I pinned it out to 18 inches, but it has kind of come in a little bit, which I knew it would. So it's closer to 16 and a half inches, which is closer to what the other two are. And I know that when I seam these together, I'll be able to get some give in there if I need to. So I've worked on a schematic for what I want the overall blanket to look like. I know I want my colors to stair step instead of being a column of the sapphire and a column of the gray and a column of the navy. I want some change in there with that stair step look, but I need to figure out what the rest of it's going to look like. So I'll work on that some. And my mom has helped me with that a little bit too, and I'm very thankful. So that was my finish. I used Chiaogoo size 7 needles, 4.5 millimeter. And so then I mentioned that I was on spring break this week. So while I was driving, we went and visited my aunt. And while I was driving, Mom and I got to chatting about series for TikTok and posts for Instagram and different things like that. And so my mom opened up my phone and started a list. We started with, okay, what sweaters have you finished? What socks have you finished? What gnomes have you finished? Just different things that I've definitely finished that I can share on TikTok and share with you all. And then I started thinking, wait a minute, I have this yarn for this sweater that I bought from this event. So we started talking about all that. So it kind of turned into also a list of, like, if I want to start something and I don't know exactly what I want to start, I could pull up that list and be like, oh, I want to do this. So it was really nice to have all of that together in one spot. One of the items has Molo yarn in it from Lolo Did It, which has mohair in it, and it's for a rocket tee, which I love and I want to make. But I've come to realize that Molo, I have really sensitive skin, and I react just a little bit to it. It's kind of toothy, I think is the word I've heard other people say. Like, I can kind of feel it like poking a little bit. So to me, it's almost like an itch, but not exactly. So I took a skein to my mom and I'm like, hey, do you react to this the same way I do? So she held it to like the inside of her arm, because that can be a more sensitive area. She held it to the back of her neck and, on her cheek and things like that. And she's like, no, this feels amazing. This feels really soft. So I was like, surprise, you get a rocket tee someday. So I will start that eventually. And then I'll have to figure out, can I do alpaca lace, or can I just do 2 fingering weight yarns that aren't of a different type or a different weight or with a different animal fiber in it that I could potentially react to. So I think she's excited for that someday in the future. So it was fun to remember that I have that yarn, and to remember where I was when I bought the different types of yarn for some of these garments and shawls and gnomes and just different things like that, socks that I need to go start on. So that was fun. And then while I was at my aunt's, she has a local yarn store. And so we went, and that was a lot of fun. This lady has some roving. It's called the Yarn Hub. She has some roving. She has some needle felting items. She has cross stitch stuff. She has lots of yarn. And I went in because I needed a bulky yarn and I needed an alpaca lace weight yarn. So I found both of those, and the bulky is a beautiful teal color, because I love teal, and it's plied really interestingly. And this is from Thistle Down Farm Girl Fibers and Stitchery from Shelbyville, Kentucky, and it's 100% sheep wool. So there's that. It feels toothy to me, so whatever project I put this in, it's going to have to be somewhere where it's not skin to skin. But it's nice that I know that and I have that option. Then for the alpaca lace, I got a deep black. I'm just using a hair clip to hold it that blends in. This is 50 grams. The teal, it doesn't say how much it is, and I did not weigh it. I should do that. But this feels really soft to me. Like, I don't think I'll react to this at all as I put it in the same places, that my mom put the Molo. It feels soft to me. So I think that should I make a rocket tee with a different kind of lace or a different kind of type of animal fiber, I would do an alpaca. So those are the yarns that I got from the Yarn Hub. And then the lady was so nice. She gave myself, my aunt, and my mom a cute little keychain. I love how this heart looks like a skein of yarn. And then on the back, it says, I love my LYS, which is local yarn store. And then it's got her symbol, or whatever the word is, business. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. The words are not coming. So I'm going to hang that either on a project bag or maybe on my purse. I'm not sure, but it's so cute. And then right as I was getting ready to check out, she had this little rack of stitch markers. And I looked at them and I whipped around and I looked at my mom and my aunt and I was like, she has cat stitch markers, because I love cats. Like, my classroom isn't cats. So my aunt graciously handed me a little bit more money and was like, here, grab you 4 for your birthday. So I grabbed 8 cat stitch markers. Look at that cute little tan cat. And then here's a tuxedo. And then here's looking at the back, tuxedo. And a bright teal guy that matches the yarn that I got. And Mom loved this patchwork guy. Oh, come on. Nope, wrong way. There we go. And then this cute little guy. And this beautiful gal. And last one, a tan striped one. So that was super fun to talk about and giggle about and pick out. And like I said, the lady was wonderful. So we had a lot of fun there. So then you're probably going like, why did you need bulky weight and lace weight yarn? Because like those are, you know, opposite ends of the yarn weight spectrum, truly. So I took, making sure I'm going in the right order here. Yep. I took a class this past Friday on, I think it was the 10th of April, and it was a stash busting class from Modern Daily Knitting, and Park Williams was the host. I had so much fun. So I knew that I needed a bulky weight yarn down to a lace weight yarn because stash busting. And she said to have one from each of those. Now, I did not have an Aran weight yarn. That's the only one I didn't have. I didn't remember that I needed that. And it worked out to be fine anyways. So what she does is she coaches you on starting with a worsted weight yarn. So this is Celtic on a worsted weight yarn base from Lolo Did It. It's a bright green. And I cast on 24 stitches with that. And then she was like, okay, add another color, and then add another color. And we worked until we were holding up to the bulky weight yarn. So I was holding, I think, 3 or 4 strands of yarn at the same time and knitting with them. And then it looks like this. So then we get to this teal row, and that's when I was holding both the bulky weight with a cotton yarn that are shockingly similar in color. And it felt like it was too hard to work the stitches. So she talked about how your hands will get used to knowing, oh, that's probably why my hands are a little achy. Anyways, getting used to knowing what's too much as you work these patterns. So part of this class was that we got a pattern of hers for free, and I picked a cardigan. So eventually I'm going to do a stash busting cardigan with my stash. So as I hold this up closer, you're starting to see some reds in here, and she encouraged us to pick a color that like doesn't go with what we have laid out. I had mainly blues and greens and creams and a slight purple picked out, and grays and blacks for the molo and alpaca, which gives it that halo look. So I picked the red, and I'm like, well, it's not gonna go. And actually, it doesn't look bad. I think it looks fine. At first, I thought like this section was reading a little Christmassy, but then over here, I don't know, it just looks like candy almost. And then I dropped the teals and went mainly with creams with some pops of different colors. And you have a blue million ends to weave in, and she addressed that. She was like, okay, you can basically weave as you go. You can save it for the end, throw on a TV show, make your favorite beverage, and just take 2 hours to weave in all your ends. So it was just really, really interesting. So I have that on my list in my phone as well. It was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I really learned a lot. So if you guys are looking for different knitting classes, I highly recommend you check out Modern Daily Knitting. I'm just telling you that because I enjoyed it. I get no commission from them. They don't even know I'm here. So it was a lot of fun. So I will be working on that at some point, and I'll let you guys know when I start it. Okay, so now my goals for the rest of April. I want to finish the word yells on the Halloween sampler cross stitch. Hi, Mac. Do you agree with that goal? She does. I want to start and finish my April Berroco Cable Craze block. That pattern drops on Tuesday, but I've got to figure out my color scheme first. And I want to put another 200 stitches on the Eyelet Burst shawl. So it has 300 stitches in one row right now. I want to get it to 500. I don't know. We'll see. That might be like a best goal. I might do like 400 is good, 450 is better, and 500 is best stitches by the end of April. We shall see. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for these 24-ish minutes. Remember, you can follow me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Sassy Fiber Arts. We meet weekly on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Well, most weeks. There are a few weeks where I can't make it, but often somebody else in the group will start the chat and they'll still get together and craft. We have painters, we have cross stitchers, we have knitters, we have crocheters, we have like all different types of arts and crafts in there, so feel free to join. We just chat for about an hour and then, you know, wish everyone well and share projects and things like that. I also have an Instagram account, also Sassy Fiber Arts, and I have a TikTok, Sassy Fiber Arts as well. And then, of course, this YouTube. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow and comment, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks.